Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Sorry.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraet
Tato
Tato Jayam Udirayat
Nashtaprayasu Abhadresu
Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttamasloke
Bhagavati Uttamasloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike.
Reading from chapter 12 from Bhagavad Gita, titled Devotional Service, and the verse number is 8. Maiva mana adhastva
Maeva mana adhatsva
Adatsva
Mai buddhim nivesaya
Mai buddhing nivesaya
Nivasisyasi mayaiva
Nivasisyasi maeva
Ata urdhavam na samasaya
Ata urdhvam na samsayaha
Maya eva manadhastva
Maeva mana adhatsva
Mai buddhim nivesaya
Mai buddhim nivesaya
Nivasisyasi mayaiva
Nivasisyasi maeva
Ata urdhvam na samsaya.
Ata urdhvam na samsayaha.
Any Prabhuji Mataji would like to lead?
Mai eva mana adhatsva
Maya
Eva mana adhasva
Mai buddhim nivesaya
Mayi
Mai
Buddhim
nivesaya
Nivasisyasi maeva
Nivasisyasi mayeva
Ata urdhvam na samsayaha.
Ata urdhvam na samsaya.
May evam mana adatsva
Mai eva mana
adhatsva
adhasva
Mayi buddhim niveshaya
Mai
Mai
buddhim
buddhim
nivesaya
nivesaya
Nivasishyasi maya eva
Nivasisyasi
Nivasisyasi
maeva
mayeva
Ata urdhvam na samshayaha
Ata
Ata
urdhvam na
urdhvam na samsaya.
samsayaha.
Word by
Mayeva
go on, Prabhuji, sorry.
Mayeva Mano Adhatsva
Maeva
Mai
mana
eva mana
adhatsva
adhatsva
Mai Buddhim Nivesaya
Mai
Mai
buddhim
buddhim
nivesaya
nivesaya
Nivasisya Mai Eva
Nivasisyasi
Nivasisyasya
maeva
mayeva
Ata Urdham Na Samsaya.
Ata
Ata
urdhvam na
urdhvam na
samsayaha.
samsaya. Word by word meaning. Mai upon me.
Mai upon me.
Eva certainly.
Eva certainly.
Mana mind.
Manaha mind.
Adhatsva fix.
Adhatsva fix.
Mai upon me.
Mai upon me.
Buddhim intelligence.
Buddhim intelligence.
Nivesaya apply.
Nivesaya apply.
Nivasisyasi you will live.
Nivasisyasi you will live.
Mai in me.
Mai in me.
Eva certainly.
Eva certainly.
Ata urdham thereafter.
Ata urdhvam thereafter.
Na never.
No, never.
Na never.
Samsaya doubt.
Samshaya.
Samsaya doubt.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Just fix your mind upon me.
Just fix your
Just
mind upon me.
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
The
the
Supreme
Supreme
Personality
Personality
of
of
God.
Godhead,
and engage all your intelligence in me.
and
and
engage
engage all your
All your
intelligence in
intelligence
me.
in me.
Thus you will live in me,
Thus
Thus
you
you
will
will
live
live
in
in
me.
me,
always,
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 without a doubt.
without a doubt.
without a doubt.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read this page?
One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service, lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee doesn't live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna, the holy name of the Lord, and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishnaized by eating the remnants. One who doesn't engage in such service cannot understand how this is so. Although this is a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's all chant together. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpatakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavtamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nilachal Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namo. So thank you so much for joining this Sangha. And today we are taking chapter 12, which stands for Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. And last time we discussed about verse number 5, and today we are discussing verse number 8, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because in the beginning uh, Arjuna is asking what is the right process, and in the beginning of chapter 12, around 2, 3, 4, 5, Lord Krishna explains about the challenges of following the path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is filled with challenges if the impersonalism is taken into account. And here, Lord Krishna is step by step in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. He is actually going and explaining about the step by step by step by step of devotional service as to which stage we all are and what we should do to progress in devotional service. So this is a verse which gives us a yardstick as to where we are in this path of devotional service and what we all should do to go from one stage to another, one stage to another. Likewise, we progress in the path of devotional service. So here, Krishna talks about two important things, which we'll discuss in the essence of the verse. Maya eva mana adhastva. That means mana, mind is being discussed here. And my buddhim nivesaya, buddhim, intelligence is discussed. So this mind and intelligence, we talked about mind and intelligence again and again and again. Lord Krishna talks about mind all the time. So many verses are filled with mind, mind, mind. But here, in various different stages of our progress in our path to realize the Supreme, the mind is always talked about, and also the buddhi is talked about. So the essence of the verse, Krishna says, whatever you end up doing, the mind and intelligence has to be dovetailed onto him. Otherwise, then there are challenges. So the essence of the verse, so and also towards the end, Krishna says living in Krishna. What does living in Krishna means? So living in Krishna, so towards the second sentence, Srila Prabhupada translates, by engaging the mind and intelligence, you live in me. So what does living in me means? So that's a very important question. We need to ask ourselves, what does living in Krishna means? See, whenever we have a father who is a very rich person, he has a big mansion. The mansion has like 20 rooms, but our lifestyle is dependent on 2 or 3 rooms. But if we really have to talk to our father who has 20 rooms and say in a way that, Father, I just want to barricade these 2 rooms where I would end up living, then the father may take some exception to it. But if you say, Father, I want to live with you, I want to be with you, then the father will say, yes, you all can live here, and the entire 20 rooms are here. So living in Krishna means being with Krishna, thinking or engaging the mind in Krishna, or engaging our intelligence for Krishna. Then we are actually living alongside Krishna. When we are living alongside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this entire universe is ours. So we can understand him exactly like how a person, if he lives with the Supreme, with his paternal father or his relatives in a very coherent manner, that is the reason why when you try to live with your boundaries in perspective in a separate manner, trying to have your own whims and fancies, then the same father says, you do not have to live with me. You can live separately. You'll see that nowadays, quite a lot of parents, they're staying in the same city as the kids, but they do not stay with the kids. If they stay with the kids, the entire area is for both. But if they do not stay with them, then there is an element of separation, and they all stay in two bedrooms here. So that the essence of staying together and thinking together has an amplifying effect. So here, Krishna is saying living in Krishna means you engage your mind with Krishna. So that's the difference between that example where we talked about a mansion belonging to a supreme father, your current father. And if you really have to segregate that from your purview, then you may not even stay in the mansion. Forget about the 2 rooms you're looking for. So with that basic principle, let's try to understand this verse. What does fixing mind on Krishna and fixing intelligence on Krishna? So here Krishna gives from 12.8, 12.9, 10, 11, and 12. He talks about the different progressive stages of devotion. And the current verse talks about the topmost stage. Mind is fixed on Krishna. So what is the result of it? So you live in Krishna, in relationship with Krishna. So that's the topmost thing. Say, for example, you cannot give your mind to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot eat something which is not offered. That means you, so when you live with Krishna, you basically have one kitchen where you're cooking, whatever you are cooking, you're offering to Krishna, you're partaking it. You have a nice garden, you get flowers and you offer it to your altar or Krishna. So this is actually building your consciousness. This is a way of life. Krishna consciousness is not something you reach a milestone and you're done. It's a way of life. So in our day-to-day life, the best house, the best room has to be for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The altar is not in a wardrobe or a walk-in closet. The place where Krishna lives is the best place. Everything around it. So that means in your house, you're basically staying there as a caretaker. You're staying in Krishna Nivas or Jagannath Villa, but actually you are the caretaker of the house. In your own house, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which the entire Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, everything belongs. You are part and you are taking. So that is fixing the mind. So that is the topmost thing. And you really do not have to start from the bottom to go to the top. In Bhakti Yoga, you can come in any time and be with any state. So the second state, which we may cover or we may not cover, depending, because we're taking the top 108 verses, is the next level. Say for example, you cannot fully fix your mind. Then the second level, one lower level, is follow regulative principles. The 4 regulative principles we talked about, the 4 pillars of Dharma, which stands on it. The 4 pillars of Dharma is austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, compassion. And each of these pillars of Dharma is attached to the regulative principle of no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no meat eating. They're mapped 1 to 1. So stay regulated and do sadhana bhakti, wherein you chant. So you're not fully fixing your mind, but still stay regulated. 12.9. And the next lower level is if you cannot stay regulated, you're traveling, you cannot give up, you have challenges, then work for Krishna. So when you work for Krishna, you will come to the stage of devotional service. At least you will come to the stage of devotional service. And still you can't end up doing that. Then you try to give up something, renunciate something. Then you acquire some knowledge, acquire some transcendental knowledge. See, whenever you think that by trying to merge into the Supreme Brahman, or getting that element of Brahma Jyoti in our hearts is the ultimate, that's truly not devotional service. That's essentially we are faking devotional service. So the lowest stage where the devotional service starts is starting with some form of renunciation, some form of regulation, some form of giving up. We have talked about it in the past, but that's the lowest stage. So we can go from top to bottom or bottom to top in trying to understand the 4 levels, how we can go. And there is nothing like you have to go from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, nothing like that. If you fix your mind, like Srila Prabhupada, you might have seen a beautiful video. Srila Prabhupada says, in order to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it takes just 1 minute. It just takes your consciousness, and that video is a very, very popular video. You will see that in YouTube. It just takes 1 minute to give up everything and fix your mind into Krishna consciousness. So that's the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, that it doesn't have to be, you have to go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4. It's not like that. There are wonderful devotees who have convinced, and they're following Krishna consciousness, and their entire family has been totally filled with bhakti and bhava and prema, and their entire family has been transformed in few months. So there's nothing like, so this is exactly what Krishna is saying here. If you fix your mind and intelligence, that's it. You're in the topmost level. Sometimes it may not happen, but if the topmost is not there, at least stay regulated. Chant, as Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport, chant. When you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, with mind focused, Krishna dances on our tongue. So staying regulated and chanting is the second level, and and always during festivities we tend to go from the second level to top level, fixing our mind in doing something, but try to stay in those top two levels, and this verse is focusing on the topmost level. So that's why we, as long as we understand the 4 steps, we can move around and go up and fixing our mind and intelligence onto Krishna. And one way to fix our intelligence is to indulge in reading, understanding, offering prayers, and paying obeisances to Srimad Bhagavatam, whose appearance day is today, Bhadra Purnima. So in order to focus your mind and intelligence, the best way to focus your mind and intelligence is to focus on reading Srimad Bhagavatam on a regular basis, understanding, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from a bona fide source. We have Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. And today is Bhadra Purnima, where the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam took place. So Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the cosmic creation, how this entire beautiful Prakriti was created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it talks about 10 chapters, you know. It talks about Sarga, the primary creation, Visarga, the secondary creation, Sthanam, positioning of living entities and various different planetary systems, Poshanam, how Lord is protecting and how the protection of devotees by the Supreme Personality of God is taking place. It talks about Uti, which is our inclination to act, and it talks about the Manus, the Manvantra, the reign of Manus, and then it talks about Ushanu Katha, the topics of Lord's various incarnation. And we think there are only 10 incarnations, but there are many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead based on the 6 kinds of incarnation. It's all covered in Srimad Bhagavatam. It talks about Nirodha, which talks about the destruction or annihilation. And then it talks about Mukti or liberation. And the next important topic Srimad Bhagavatam talks about is Ashraya, the supreme shelter. And and um, and these 10 topics are of prime importance if we really have to focus our mind, because mind is wandering all the time, and it's the mind which basically takes us to Krishna. It takes us away from Krishna. So the greatest example of minding our mind, just happened to meet a Prabhu whose name is Brajabihari Prabhu. He is in ISKCON Chowpatty. He has written a book called Mind the Mind. This mind is a very tricky thing. Your mind is somewhere here, somewhere there. It's always favorable, sometimes it is unfavorable. So how to mind the mind? He wrote a book. I was just talking to him last week. So the best way to engage our mind is to regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. They may not be the best speakers uh, in the morning 6:30 to 7. It's not about hearing from the best speakers. It's our faith, our regularity in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is more important, which will give us a knowledge in these 10 topics which we may not be aware of. And we think this world, this universe is created by Big Bang theory or the theory of primordial soup, which will go to Google and you search. But actually, this beautiful universe is beautiful streams, mountains are created by the Supreme Lord. The primary creation, which is Sarga, it's which in chapter 1 and 2. And then Visarga, the secondary creation, how Brahmaji is coming from the navel of Garvadakshaya Vishnu and creating, Narad Muni, the Rudras, the four Kumaras, beautifully explained. And then you'll realize that this is nothing but supreme science. The real science is in Srimad Bhagavatam. And you'll think that the books, the science books you have written, where Pluto sometimes is a planet and sometimes is not a planet, is how fake they are. This has lived the course of time, course of thousands and hundreds and millions of years by Vyasadeva on this day. So minding the mind can only be realized by focusing on Srimad Bhagavatam. Once you start hearing it, you'll have a ruchi for it. And what is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but the Grantavatar of Krishna. Is the incarnation in the form of a book. The Krishna's incarnation in the form of a book is Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why we install Srimad Bhagavatam in our house, because it's the Grantavatar. And Krishna, after his disappearance, is again returning in this form of book to teach us through the process of righteousness in this age of Kali. It has 12 cantos, and these are all limbs of Krishna, is the body parts of Krishna. And Padma Purana, it's very beautifully mentioned that the first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's lotus feet. So whenever you try to have darshan in the temple of Radha Samsundar Jagannath Baldev Subhadra or Gaurnitai, always try to have the impression of paying obeisances from the lotus feet onwards and go up, so that that mindset, that loving awe and reverence sets inside us. The first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but Krishna's lotus feet. This is not being spoken by some sannyasi from our movement. It's written in Padma Purana that the first and second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam are Krishna's lotus feet. The third and fourth canto of the 12 cantos, the third and fourth are his thighs, and the fifth canto is his navel, and the sixth canto is the chest. Seventh and eighth canto are the two arms, and the ninth canto is his throat, and the 10th canto is his beautiful lotus face, where you will see a lot of references of gopis and beautiful interaction. But Srila Prabhupada has told us, don't go to canto 10 without having the first, second, third, fourth knowledge. Otherwise, you will never appreciate it. And the 11th canto is his forehead, and the 12th canto is his head. In order to mind the mind, which this 12.8 is all about, I would urge you to have a liking for Srimad Bhagavatam, or install Srimad Bhagavatam in your house, because Krishna is present as a Grantavatar, as an incarnation in the form of a book in this form. So we can go on and on. Focus the mind, summarizing, focus the mind and intelligence on Krishna, because we want to live alongside Krishna, not stay away from Krishna. And the best way to implement that, the practical way to implement that, is to associate more and more with hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, keeping Bhagavatam, sponsoring Bhagavatam in your house. When you keep it in your own language, Srila Prabhupada has done some wonderful things with Srimad Bhagavatam. If we, which we may not read Sanskrit without Srila Prabhupada, who, if he wouldn't have translated it, we wouldn't be in a position to read this beautiful, this powerful scripture, which is written in Sanskrit, and we wouldn't be able to take the benefit of this beautiful scripture. Because of Srila Prabhupada, our kids can read Srimad Bhagavatam. We can read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's available in all languages. It's not available in a form which is often available in various different local languages. It's available in the true verse by verse transliteration, word by word translation, and the purport, which is the best way to get the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, is to read Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, because it doesn't give a poetic way or a different way, which kind of simplifies and doesn't portray the great work done by Vyasadeva. So I urge all of you to associate with Srimad Bhagavatam so that you can mind your mind and you can mind your intelligence and devote it with Krishna. So that's why in villages, in the childhood, when there used to be Srimad Bhagavatam recitation in the villages, there used to be no quarrel in those villages. Once they stopped doing that and started indulging in TV serials and everything, there has been a lot of fight happening. Wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is there, the house is at peace. And reading Srimad Bhagavatam brings that element of auspiciousness in everybody's life. So, in order to mind the mind, Krishna tells Srimad Bhagavatam has to be read and has to be understood and has to be offered in the altar. If possible, you can do it. So with that, I can go on and on, but like to end here and like to open up for any question or comments or reflection. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It was such a nice explanation, Prabhuji. So grateful to you, Prabhuji. It's not a question, but you mentioned in a very beautiful way that living with Krishna. So I have realized, it's so tough to do that. Practically do that. For example, when we shift to a house or something, you mentioned that, okay, keeping Krishna in a walking closet kind of thing. So it still remains, So we are still, means the way I say that we are not so advanced. Means even after you discussed, after you mentioned this, I am feeling like that. Why we never think that, okay, whenever we will go to a new house or we will buy a home, why we never thought that, okay, Krishna should have one room for himself. It's then we have to adjust, whatever way. But we think that, okay, all people will have some bedrooms and Krishna will be in drawing room or somewhere. Okay, so that feeling is, it is there. So it was always there. But when you said that, I realized, yeah, this is such a wonderful point. That means our life goes on, but we never prioritize Krishna over everything. So I don't know when that will come, but probably, with the mercy of on the Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, probably it will come, Prabhu.
Yeah.
You
So
explained it in a nice way, Prabhu.
yeah, thank you so much. I think the realization you just shared in the last 2 minutes, Krishna has seen that. Krishna is seeing your purity and recognizing that Krishna is a person. And if Krishna is a person and he happens to be the supreme person, he has to be given a place which but uh, but we have different. Once upon a time, Prabhu, what you just mentioned, uh, we all have been through that in some form or other. Because I really do not want to discuss anything where I feel so uh, saddened by the impersonal aspect of treating deities in various different places. But one thing I can assure you, that your realization that someday when you have in your your onset of growth in your loving relationship with the Supreme, someday you will think that way. Because most of the time we have this life of where we're consulting, we move from one place to another, so it's fine, absolutely fine. But it doesn't have to be now. But at after 5 years, 10 years, when you have a fairly steady place and you really want to sort of host the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then with the love and consciousness built onto the process and your heart melting, and you recognize that Krishna is a person, and the person needs some interaction with his brother Baladev, or with his consort Srimati Radharani, So in doing that, that thing will naturally manifest, and you recognizing that is half thing accomplished, and it's just a matter of this material walls which will facilitate that implementation someday or other. But thank you for sharing that. Any other comments or questions, reflections? So we want to welcome back Bhakti Ratnakar Prabhu, who was in India for 2 weeks. Prabhuji, how was your trip, and you want to say something?
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yeah, I had a pleasant trip, Prabhuji. The marriage, I went for marriage. It was good, and by Krishna's mercy, I could also visit Udupi Krishna temple, Prabhuji, and I could met the Pithadipati there. So I was fortunate for that, Prabhuji, and thanks very much for the blessings. Yeah. Prabhuji, on Pratap Prabhuji's point, I wanted to say, as you have rightly told, Prabhuji, that realization itself is a driver of your consciousness, Prabhuji. You don't have to even give him a separate room. The realization that Krishna should have his ways, that itself um, is complete in itself, Prabhuji. Automatically things will, because his consciousness is dotted with the Krishna consciousness, so it will manifest, Prabhuji. So that is what I felt when he was explaining, Prabhuji, that for example, when I first came to this congregation, Prabhuji, there was a need of the service for we used to have Old Bridge property, right, Prabhuji? There was a need for we had to clean the shrubs and everything because we get some tax benefit, Prabhuji. We say that we are using that for a farmland, right, Prabhuji? So that time our temple president told that, Prabhuji, that's what was very attractive for me about the congregation. Even if you think that I want to serve Krishna, that itself is a blessing, Prabhuji. So in the right, Pratap Prabhu is in the right direction. Thinking that is what in another way we say that keep Krishna in the center. So that means everything revolves around Krishna, Prabhuji. That he's the creator and he's the provider and he's the impetus. Everything automatically our consciousness starts transforming, Prabhuji, into Krishna consciousness. So Pratap Prabhu, you're not way you don't have to wait for that. You are there on that path and manifestation will happen.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And it's my fortune, Hemant Prabhu. Today I met Bhakti Ratnakar Prabhu at Govindas.
I was very happy, Prabhuji, that we could meet. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
So, is it today? Is it that Srimad Bhagavatam appeared, or it is the day when I think Sukadev Goswami has completed the recitation near, I forgot the name where it is. So is it that way? Is it appeared that Vyasadev has written today, or is it the same day when Sukadev Swami has he has completed the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam? So I mean, I'm confused about that. So because somewhere it has been said that after Radha Ashtami, so from Navami, it starts when Sukadev Goswami starts reciting the Srimad Bhagavatams for the 7 days, and the day it completes, that is the Bhadrava Purnima, and so it is kind of completing. But somewhere I heard today is the day when Vyasadev has completed writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, which is true, Prabhu?
The Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you want to add something?
Prabhuji, actually, I am also not knowledgeable here, Prabhuji. Means I never read also, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I have so I have heard the second thing you mentioned, Prabhu. It's actually the recitation by Sukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj starts after Radhastami, and this there's a wonderful class given by Bhakti Ashray Vaishnava Maharaj, and he mentioned about the importance of the Radhastami to the Purnima, and also I have also heard that the literary incarnation, the compilation, was complete on this day. I don't know whether it is a coincidence. It's actually it's compiled by Srila Vasudev, and that was also at the same culmination of this thing. So both are correct to me,
Got it.
unless I have any information to prove something against it. So there is a wonderful story of Lord Ganesh and Vyasadeva, right? When they are sort of, Vyasadeva was reciting, Ganeshji is writing, and once and there was a pact that there's a pact that once Vyasadeva is reciting, you cannot stop writing, and then the pen breaks, and then Ganeshji is looking for something to write, and the pen breaks. So, and because Lord Ganesh is such a determined person that he can't stop writing on recitation, so he breaks his right tusk and start writing Srimad Bhagavatam, so that so that's from that day onwards. What I mentioned, what I've understood is Ganeshji is called Ekadanta because he's using the tusk to continue and without any stoppage, basically keeping in pace with Srila Vyasadev's recitation. So that's another pastime which is beautifully explained in one or two places. So see, quite a lot of these dates, there is definitely some reference either way, but these are all from the perspective of Guru, somebody who has, but there are some lok katha angle as well. So we have to also recognize that there is that nectar, there is that ras. If we do not keep the lok katha into perspective, then we lose the thing. So, so Prabhu, I don't know if I answered your question, but just want to give this perspective.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It was a very great discussion.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments?
But if you see, Prabhuji, Ganesh Chaturthi, Radha Ashtami, Bhadra Purnima, based on what has been discussed here, Prabhuji, looks like they all are aligned also, Prabhuji, right? Of course, the purpose of Ganesh Chaturthi was the Vigna but there must be definitely some, if we go deep research, there must be some relation where he started writing and the tusk got broken, the pen got broken and he used the tusk, and they all fall in line, Prabhuji, if you see.
Yeah.
But we have to figure out the artifacts for that.
True. Any other comments, questions? Santa Mataji, you've joined after a long time. I hope everything is all right with you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'm listening the discussion. I love it to listen, to learn something about Gita.
Okay, thank you. So Niranjan Prabhu, Tarlaka Prabhu, how are you doing?
Prabhuji, yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay. So everything all right? Health, everything is great?
Yeah, so far so good, Prabhuji.
Excellent, excellent, Prabhu. Thank you. Niranjan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, I'm also good, Prabhuji. Yeah, nice guy, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, if there is no other comments or questions, we can end here. Tomorrow is the Bhadra Purnima Yagya. Even if Bhadra Purnima is today, we are celebrating it tomorrow in our temple. There will be Yagya, and anybody who sponsors Srimad Bhagavatam or distributes the Srimad Bhagavatam will become the Judgment, and they will sit alongside the Yagya and participate in the Ahuti. So, and tomorrow that will be from 5:30 to 9. And there'll be big celebration for that. Otherwise, there's so many upcoming events coming up, Ramachandra Vijayotsav, and so many events in the temple. We'll keep you posted. So if there is nothing, we can, if there's no other comments, we can end here.
Prabhuji, one question. So tomorrow's Yagya, it starts at 5:30?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
So you can go and participate in the Yagya. So being there, getting the Ahuti and putting it in our head, it has a cleansing effect. So Vaishnava Yagyas are purifying and cleansing effect. So we urge you to attend, sit with the Yagya, be part of the sanskara, which is very helpful. And also the Sunday school, if you have enrolled your kid into Sunday school,
yes, Prabhuji.
that also starts. This year it's not online anymore. It's going to be in person. So 5:45 to 7:30.
Yes, Prabhuji, I got the message. Yeah, we'll be there.
All right, Prabhu. So if there is no other, let's end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.